Okay, having a look at this question in this video where we have a graph and we're wanting to look at the gradient of the graph. So the first question is for what values of x is the gradient negative? So we're looking at that picture and saying, okay, for this section it's negative, and for this section it's negative. So we know that we've got our coordinate here of negative 3, 4. So when x is less than negative 3, it's going to have a negative gradient. And when x is greater than, and that looks like a 6 there for that point, or is it a 4? Maybe it's a 4. So we'll know for those parts of the graph, it's going to have a negative gradient. So we could write that then all in one go rather than in the two pieces like that, and say our x in the middle when it is less than negative 3 and greater than 4. For part B, it says for what values of x is the gradient positive. So obviously that's the other part where it's not negative. So this section here in between, so in between negative 3 and 4. So we've got our x, and so when x is greater than negative 3 and less than 4. So same numbers that we've got here, just the reversed signs. Then we've got sketch the graph of the gradient function. So when I see a question like this, I know I'm going to look for stationary points first. So I've got my axes, I've got my stationary points here at negative 3, 4 and 4, 10. So at negative 3, I know that the gradient is 0, and at positive 4, I've got a gradient of 0. So then I think what is happening here, so when it's less than negative 3, going that way, I know my gradient is negative. I know that it's positive in between these sections, and it goes back to negative for there. So that's the shape of my sketch of my graph of that gradient function. That's as much detail I need to go into. I don't need to know any of the other values. That is it. In the next video, I'm going to have a look at another differentiating from first